Welcome to the second series of the Little Bean podcast, where every episode feels like a warm hug, reminding us that we're not alone in this roller coaster of parenthood. I'm your host, Sarah Baldock, a mum to 3 amazing boys, as well as a newborn and family photographer. I've been so lucky to join hundreds of families on their parenthood journey and capture their most precious memories. Along the way, we've laughed through so many different topics through parenthood, and I thought it would be great to bring them all to life in my podcast. The aim of the Little Bean podcast is to show mums and dads that you're not alone. I can pretty much guarantee everything that you're feeling at various points in your journey, we've all been there. So together, let's navigate the highs and lows of being a mum and dad, from the first moments you find out you're pregnant until your babies are taller than you and embarking on their own journeys. Let's cozy up and share stories all about all sorts of topics, from little ones first cuddly to the evolving themes of family board games, from the first books that they won't let you stop reading to once beloved TV shows that used to be on permanent repeat and are now a things of the past. Every little change marks another page turned in the family story. Yet with each soft goodbye, there's an exciting new hello. We're here to share these moments and to show you that you're not alone. It sometimes feels that you can be the only one riding these waves of emotions, but trust me, you're not. You're doing a fantastic job. Through the laughter and tears, it's your love that makes this journey so incredible. So let's cherish each moment together. So recently, I've been trying to get our house into some sort of semblance of order. Not easy with 3 boys and a husband. And I found myself standing in my oldest son's bedroom, looking at the shelf above his bed. There, in the corner, was Eeyore, once permanently clamped to his hand, now lying slightly threadbare, but quietly in the corner. It's one of those moments when you have a sudden rush of emotions and you realise your little ones are not so little anymore. Things are changing around you. Their world is changing around you, and so are their needs. It's a real lump in the throat moment, as us mums never want to admit that our little ones are growing up. For me, it started when the boys were in size 1 nappies. I was squeezing my youngest into a size 1 nappy way longer than I should have done, just because I did not want to admit that he was growing up and no longer newborn. After a few punamis, I'll be honest, I gave up. And then they were squeezing him into tiny baby grows as I refused to admit that he was getting bigger. Oh, okay, it does sound a bit weird, doesn't it? But it's not meant to. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's done it. Please say I'm not. I'm not, am I? Particularly when it's your youngest son and you know it's your last. The list just goes on through every single stage. And the realisation that Eeyore, or in our case, Pippet or Teddy as well, as these are my 2 youngest sons' go-to teddies, are no longer a necessity. And it just brings it home to you even more. So it got me thinking about the parenthood journey and how things change, from their first gummy smiles to their confident strides into school. How the toys have changed from a simple cuddly to more complex gadgets and games. Each toy a different phase with a different story of growth. Not just them, but for us too. Yes, we can look back and miss the days when our little ones needed us all the time. Although, come on, hands up, who has conveniently forgotten how tough those days can be, and how hearing the word mummy for the 95th time in 5 minutes isn't always so endearing. But we also can look forward to look ahead for the family journey that's to come. So I thought it would be fun to look back and smile about those cherished memories, the joyful and the bittersweet, and also look forward to the exciting chapters that are ahead. In this episode, I'm going to be looking at adventures we go on as parents with our little ones' toys. Are you ready for a few giggles and maybe a few tears? Okay, so we all remember the first cuddly toy that really mattered. As I mentioned, for us, it was Eeyore, Pippet and Teddy. Just to add, it was Pippet because my middle son couldn't pronounce rabbit properly, but that's a story for another episode. So they all look pretty threadbare now, and that's just a testament to how important they once were. In fact, my youngest son still likes to know where Teddy is when he goes to bed, and sometimes if I go in and say goodnight to him, I'll find him cuddling Teddy, particularly if he's overtired, bless him. If I'm honest, I think I'm probably more sentimental about Eeyore, Pipit and Teddy than the boys are. For me, they're not just stuffed with fluff, but with countless firsts. The first laughs, those first nightmare cuddles after a bad dream, the sunny afternoons in the park. They're the warm reminder of our early, precious years. They might be less important to my sons than they were, but they're still just a precious reminder of those early days, and I can't help but smile every time I see them. Whatever my sons want to do with their cuddlies in the future, I can guarantee I'm going to be keeping them safe forever. So, with the precious first cuddly comes the terrifying loss of said cuddly. The panic when you realise that it's no longer in your son's hand halfway round Tesco's. Please note, other supermarkets are available. There have been more than a few terrifying occasions when my heart has literally stopped, and we have dashed back down each aisle, retracing our steps, hoping to spot the well-loved Teddy on the floor, or maybe on a shelf if someone's decided to pick him up. Thankfully, we always manage to find them, but I think I aged 10 years each time. Not least when my youngest son managed to leave his Teddy in bed while we were on a holiday in Barcelona. Teddy was then swept up with the bedclothes, and we only realised that night, which was also the night we came home. Somehow, the hotel managed to find him and sent him home, and he appeared by courier about 4 days later with one very, very happy little man, an even happier mummy, and boy did that Teddy have lots of adventures to tell us about. So every parent has their secret mission and, those bits that you don't want the little ones to know about. The ones where you have to sneak the one and only cuddly into the wash. I used to wait until my boys were asleep and then gently pry the Teddy out of their arms and do a super quick wash and dry cycle, keeping everything crossed they stayed in one piece, to be honest. Then, hoping when they woke up in the morning, they would be none the wiser to the overnight spa treatment their cuddly had received. To be honest, I often got a few suspicious looks, but most of the time I got away with it. One squeeze and all was right with the world. I bet you've done the same, as there is a limit to how long cuddlies can go between washes before they really do need to carry a government health warning. And go on, hands up, who had a stand-in Teddy? Well, I tried it with all three of mine, but it never worked. In fact, I remember asking a friend who was going to Disneyland Paris if they could look for a replacement Eeyore for my oldest son. And she did. She found one that was almost identical. Did it fool my oldest son? Did it? Heck. He took one look at it, dropped it on the floor, and picked up the real Eeyore. I actually felt sorry for the second Eeyore, to be honest, if it's possible to feel sorry for a stuffed toy. If only little ones would realise we're only trying to protect them from the sheer heartache and the end of the world feelings when their favourite toy goes permanently AWOL. But they never listen. So, hands up, who still has their favourite toys from their childhood? In fact, I've still got my very first Teddy, Pink Ted. He was bought for me by my dad before I was even born, and he went everywhere with me when I was young. As well as I've still got my first cars. I actually found the box of cars the other day while I was in the playroom, and I do admit to sitting on the floor and whizzing them round, going when nobody was looking. It took me right back to my childhood. What is interesting is the reason I found them in the playroom was because the boys used to love playing with them too. Now, they do say the old ones are the favourites, and sometimes that's true. They do also say they don't make them like they used to. But I refuse to say that because I then sound like my mum, and I'm far too young to sound like my mum at the moment. So, there is always Lego. It's something that absolutely amazes me because I loved playing with it And all my 3 boys were obsessed with Lego, and they still are. We've got boxes and boxes of the stuff, and it still gets played with now. It's one of the few toys that all 3 boys will sit down and play together without arguing. Something that's not really so easy now they're getting older and their ages are getting different. Then there's dolls. Okay, more for girls than boys, but I'll be honest, I'm not a great believer in stereotyping dolls for girls and cars for boys. But in our house, because we've only got boys, we did really only end up with cars and dinosaurs and everything and no dolls. But on the subject of dolls, for me, I was definitely a Tiny Tears and a Cindy girl, not a Barbie girl. I love the fact that there are some toys that never change, and I hope they never will. So if we look at it, toys and how they're played with are almost like a 3D wall chart, documenting how our little ones grow and develop. It's cuddlies 1 minute and then plastic dinosaurs the next, and invariably moving on to smaller electronic things as they get older. It's almost like an inverse relationship. The bigger the children get, the smaller their toys get. Seeing how their tastes in toys change as their world expands beyond the playroom and into the world outside is as exciting as it is emotional. Each step they take away from the soft toys and into new interests and a step further from childhood. But as proud as we are, it can also be a little bit heartbreaking, seeing them leave those first toy friends behind on the shelf. So I guess toys are more than just a fad or a 5-minute wonder. They are more than something to collect dust and as they get left on the shelf. Or in the case of Lego, they are more than something to test your patience and not screaming out 4-lettered expletives as you go into your little one's room in the night, in the dark, and tread on a 4x2 block, hiding in the middle of a Thomas the Tank Engine rug, waiting to pay you excruciating pain. Okay, I'm not traumatized by that experience at all. Does it show? They tell us so many stories of early childhood and family adventures. I almost wish Toy Story was a reel in our house, so we could listen to the toys and recall their individual adventures. The Toy Story franchise almost takes on a new meaning in our house as well, as we've donated so many of our toys to charity so that they can be enjoyed by other little ones. Their adventures continue. If you're anything like me, though, there are also some noisy toys that you're more than happy to donate. You know, the ones where, unfortunately the batteries appear to run out really quickly. I know, we haven't got any more of those batteries in the house, sweetheart. No. We've all told those, haven't we? Yes. Please tell me we have. Yes, saying goodbye to the baby toys is tinged with emotion and sadness, but also a profound sense of excitement for the next chapter. It's daunting, yes, to step into the unknown as little ones reach for new horizons, but that may take them beyond our immediate grasp. But it's also amazing to watch them grow into their own, to see them explore, learn, and become who they're meant to be. So while it might be a little bit scary, it's also incredibly exciting too. And remember, as we venture further into their journeys, we're also embarking on our own adventures in parenting too, filled with endless possibilities and learning. So if you think you're the only one hanging on to that Scooby-Doo toy that your little one got from Santa at the local soft play centre at Christmas experience 5 years ago, you're not. I'm doing exactly the same thing with all 3 of my boys and their countless Christmas toys. But I may have to harden up slightly, I'll be honest. Either that, or the boys will have to move out because the toys will take over. So that brings us to the end of another heartwarming episode here at the Little Bean Podcast. It's always a joy to share this journey with you and watching our little ones grow up and become their big, bold selves. I love hearing about how you navigate the joys and the challenges watching your little ones grow, your stories, your tips, your tricks. So please feel free to post your experiences. And don't forget to share this podcast with other mums and dads who are riding the same emotional roller coaster. It's a beautiful reminder that you are not alone. Together, we've got this. Together, we can face the challenges and cherish the moments of parenthood with fun and laughter. And remember, keep cherishing the precious moments and anything in between, because you're doing an amazing job.